Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. First of all, I hope everybody is safe. You all safe. Family, teams, friends, keep safe. We know we're facing a terrific crisis. I really do hope that you're all safe. Just very quickly, in some words, you have a chat, so bring your questions to a chat room. Not only your questions, but also your comments. And I'll be commenting your questions, and there'll be some answers too. Different parts in my presentation. First, I know there are a lot of new people all around, a lot of people coming from human resources and training. So a very short presentation of the EIPM. A second part be dedicated to crisis, and basically we had an important CPO roundtable last week, and some thoughts from this crisis and the impact on the competencies, and based on all this evolution of competencies, what we're working on in terms of a new type of educations and trainings. So basically, very quickly, in a nutshell, I would say that EIPM has been here for quite 30 years now. It's the 30th anniversary. We are training around 5,000 people per year in 95 languages. We have one campus here in Geneva. We're pretty close from Geneva on the French side, and we have seven branches around the world. Basically, we are a school, and we have a part of education with diploma and MBA, a diploma, and different certification programs. We have a part of research, meaning that we are developing all our content, and this content belongs to EIPM. This means that for big companies, very important to be sure that the content we'll be delivering in Shanghai or in Sao Paulo or in Europe be the same. And basically we are cascading around the world the same content with the same pedagogy. I'll be back on the pedagogy because it's core content of this presentation. And last point, we are customizing a lot of these trainings. We also developed some e-learnings. I'll be speaking about a lot on that. We developed also an assessment tool, and we developed also a tool for assessing the organization of maturity. This is a complete picture of the EIPM. Just this as a kind of reminder. We had three levels of certification, and just for understanding, one level of certification was over 3 weeks, over 3 months. So we had one introduction level for buyers, one for expert buyer, and one for purchasing managers. Just keep that in mind, because this is the old ways of doing. So just 3 weeks over 3 months to get this level of professional buyers. This is not existing anymore based on the new pedagogy we created. And just some references around the world in the transportation, in petroleum, in pharma, in construction, in food processing, cosmetics, in telecoms, in different business. And we also created different campuses, procurement or purchasing academies. So this is all about. If you want more information about EIPM, you can go on our website. Just now, very quickly, some thoughts about the crisis. We had a CPO roundtable last week, and I guess this sentence, but basically this is true. We don't exactly know where we're going, and nobody knows exactly where we're doing. You may have people, politicians who are saying, well, this is the way, but nobody knows exactly. So basically what we have been working on is facing this crisis. The first part of the crisis was restoring a kind of continuity. We are in this phase now. For China is trying to recover, and we know that is not so evident now. I think in Europe we'll be entering in the coming weeks, perhaps in the coming month, and so recovering performance, and then after regaining advantage. So basically, this is somehow what is the role of purchasing people in this crisis: first restoring, then recovering, and then regaining. And understanding that is what are the competencies we need to do this, to face this crisis in restoring, recovering, and regaining. So basically, what we understood from these CPOs was the fact that all the investment we have been doing are paying now. Basically, today the suppliers are aligned with us, are supporting us if we're keen with the suppliers. So the idea of supplier relationship management, the idea of behavior, the reinforcement of relation, it's very important. We have to work much more perhaps on safety and risks management. So this is all what we understood. So risk management practices, everybody is doing risk management. Everybody knew some times ago that there was a risk. Nobody has been reacting on. So we still have some question on this idea. The second point we understood that is we're going to act much more on demand management. So basically, today purchasing is in front line. To interact between, not only to look for masks, but in recovering is also to find suppliers. So basically, what we're saying here is we know that purchasing is to manage risks, but somehow we need to manage risk with a lot of data, and we have to develop new digital tools. So a new, very important way for digitalization. So we spoke about digitalization before, but now we have to link risks management and digital tools, so which is pretty new. We know that for recovering, we have to focus on cost, not only on price, cost, meaning that it's not only a question of discussing with supplier how to decrease the cost, is to think about new ID breakthrough projects, things we were saying where we can't do it. And now we have to say, hey, we have to do it because we don't have any other way. So the idea of this crisis is obliging us to think differently, to think out of the box. So to think also, as I said before, about predictive tools based on some new digital projects. And we saw also that the purchasing are becoming more leaders than the front line. So somehow we need profile who are capable to save themselves, meaning that we don't need only a good soldier, but we need leaders. And it was true, but it's much more true today when purchasing people are arriving at the board sometimes now, much frequently than before. So basically, this is the idea about regaining, and we know that we have to look at short-term view for being sure that we're going to recover and to restore, and at the same time medium to recover and long-term to take advantage. We know that during this crisis, a lot of companies may fail, and we know also that some companies are going to take advantage. So this crisis is at the same time, we have to prevent problems on a very short term, but to have also to think about the future. And some of the people we need in purchasing have to do so. So these are somehow new profiles, and basically we have to take this into consideration for the future. And we know, and this is the ideas we were bringing before. We had a T-shaped profile we used to have, meaning that a buyer times ago had a competence in purchasing or in procurement, as you want, and has a competence on one category. So this is one generic knowledge on purchasing, and meaning purchasing, meaning about cost, contract, negotiation, and so on and so forth. And he or she has a good knowledge on one category, one technical element. Then we saw that the categories have been split. Today, nobody is working anymore on marketing. You're working whether on buying web agencies, you work on buying some social network, you're buying some agent, and so on and so forth. So one techniques is becoming a lot more. So this is what we say, where we still have this knowledge in terms of purchasing and supply, the same knowledge on cost and so on and so forth. But we need to get much more in terms of technical. And now what we see now with this, we start seeing that with the evolution of the technologies, and it's much more evident with a crisis. We need people in purchasing which have a very strong understanding about what is purchasing in terms of not only practices and in terms of theory, but also multiple faces around some categories and elements around these categories. So meaning that we don't need somebody which is just focused on one very specific categories, but is focused on a kind of micro elements combining and bringing a complete subparts. So basically, we need people who are technical understanding, very good technical understanding of technologies, and understanding at the same time much more about risk, much more about digital, much more about behavior, much more about contract, and so on and so forth. So this is the type of evolution we go to. We know also that we need at the same time the Hulk, which is I'm strong. I want to negotiate with you because we're going to face some very strong problems, and we need also the Peter Pan, which needs this agility. And this is we saw that during this crisis that people were playing strong roles. But we need also agility to find the right thing now, because we have to find new solutions, reinvesting on the make locally and not only on the buy globally. So this is the people who are capable to think out of the box to find solution, but also capable to convince managers to do these different solutions. So what we know, it's we used to say that the competence we need are what I call technical expertise, basically about cost, finance, negotiation. Before the crisis, we're saying that we have to improve the knowledge in terms of behaviors, and insisting on this idea of business acumen, entrepreneurship, leadership, because we have to convince. We spoke also about agility, trust, humility, ethic. Today, with entering in the crisis, entering in the post-crisis, we have to add design thinking much more than before, had to help the suppliers and to help our stakeholders to design new product, not only to cut cost, but to think very differently, to think much more in terms of supply chain, to manage risk and to manage also the inventories, and to get somebody who is a digital mindset, who has a digital mindset. So basically what we have to insist on is today, agility, trust, humility, ethic to reinforce the relation with suppliers, but also digital mindset, supply chain, and design thinking. I think we're entering in this in purchasing now what we got in marketing or in perhaps in business yesterday, meaning that the type of millennium, the gigs, working very agile in terms of utilization of digital tools, because we spoke about data crunching, and we have to enter very quickly in this area. Based on that, we have been trying to think very quickly. This first 4 weeks of quarantine have been obliging us to transform a lot of things in EIPM. So basically, first, we decided times ago to use the model of 70-20-10, meaning that the 10% is the formal learning you have in a class. The 20 is what we call the social knowledge based on what you can go through a project, through burning issue preparation, and 70 is in the floor. meeting people. The difficulty with this model is to say the 70% in experience is today we have less contact based on the crisis, less face-to-face. But perhaps this is a part where we're going to have a biggest transformation. So we're going to have two big transformation in this model. First, in the 10%, because we used to have face-to-face, a lot of face-to-face, for different reasons I'm going to mention. This face-to-face is going to be decreased. The first reason is travel ban. We still have travel ban. When we will not get any more travel ban, companies are going to understand that we have been working with travel ban, traveling less. So I think the future will be with much less travel, much less face-to-face, even for meeting suppliers, much more about interaction through video, through Zoom, through all these internet connections. So less face-to-face, due to travel ban, and also due to we still have some risks. So this is the first element. So we have to think in terms of developing variation with less travel, with less face-to-face. It's exactly the same for experience. So we are going to develop much more connecting people, as Nokia said before, but had to get this connection with my social network in work, to develop my knowledge. So some development of new interfaces, development of new social network dedicated to business, and so on and so forth. So what we have today, the Facebook for friends, which is some we know that quite dangerous, I think. I guess that this idea is going to be developed around some business, around some companies, to help people to develop themselves besides the training. We developed ourselves what we call Purchasing Agora, where you have kind of SharePoints, you have all the elements for purchasing in a single point, where you have also the E-Library, where you have the best practices, and so on and so forth. So this is a first element in terms of training, evolution of this model. The second point is we have been transforming. This is the pedagogies we have today in EIPM. We were working, and we have been working since 2000 on this model, which is what we call blended. So we put the word classic blended because today everybody is speaking about blended. But this model has been existing in EIPM before 2000. The idea was we have some pre-learning to prepare the learning. And during the learning, you're going to understand all about the theory. So I'll be back on this. So we have this classic blended, so pre-learning, face-to-face, and post-learning. We developed what we call flex learning. So it's not anymore pre-learning, it's learning online, and some theory and some face-to-face, and then the full digital, which is no anymore face-to-face. So just very quickly on this classic blended learning, the first step is we're going to have some pre-learning, as it says, it's pre-learning, is to prepare your face-to-face learning with some e-modules and some what we call burning issues. Just tell us some stories about what you have been doing on negotiation, on cost, and so on and so forth. Your difficulties or your strengths you have been implementing. So pre-learning, you prepare your learning. Face-to-face is about over theory, and it's about some starting implementing. And the post-learning is really about the idea of you're going to implement in the company, implementing your strategy in the company. So pre-learning to prepare some e-modules. The learning is about, during the face-to-face, is all about the theory plus some implementation, and then implementation in the company. What we developed is last year is what we call flex. Flex, the idea is we go for all the theory online. All theory online means e-learnings, virtual class, video cases. And when this learning, the theory is done, we go for a face-to-face for more implementation. So a kind of heavy learning online and a very short face-to-face for implementation, for behavior and communication. And the last mode we developed is full digital, meaning that everything is online. you have the theory online with the e-modules, with the videos, with cases. You have virtual classes, and we have been multiplying the virtual classes also to coach the participants over the different projects they may have. So EIPM, we developed these three different modes of learning. And what we have been developing, we developed this e-learning across the different, across our portfolio of products. So basically today, we have programs for executives. So we have an MBA and some, what we call a diploma. So we have certification. We have open courses. We have e-modules, we have masterclass and in-company program. So the MBA is realized on blended. The certification are realized on flex, meaning a lot of distance plus plus face-to-face, but it's also realized on full digital. The induction program, which is a certification, is full digital. Open courses can be flex and can be full digital. E-module is on full digital. Masterclass, flex and full digital. In company, the three modes, depending the willingness of company. So basically, what we're doing now, it's we develop the flex program because we're thinking in terms of cost for the company. Getting less flex face-to-face means that in terms of total cost, it was more interesting. Less traveling, less time outside of a company. But due to the crisis, we have been transforming a lot of these programs in full digital, and today we are realizing a lot of these programs in full digital. And the idea, just an example for the flex, is one certification is we have a kickoff webinar. We have some mandatory e-learning, which is what we call the core competence for a certain level. We may have some face-to-face to prepare people to the learning, to create the cohort. We have the assessment, and based on the assessment, they have a personalized de-learning, which is going to help them to complete or to fill the gap of their knowledge. So this is one example of flex. What's important is for us, so you understood the three different levels of three different modes of learning. It's important to understand how these different modes of learning are applied. So if I go back on this, one point which is important for us is to understand that what we have been developing in EIPM is we have today 8 full digital and certification programs. So the certification and diploma, we have 8 degrees which are online, full digital, or which are flex. We develop 5 diploma and certification, 17 digital open courses, full digital online. We have 27 cluster of e-modules. I'll be back on that. And we have 127 e-learning. Just to make you understanding that we have been working a lot on developing tools, developing content, and we are the owner. Basically, we can open an e-modules and customize this e-module for you. So this is what we have. What's another thing which is important for us is to understand is when we speak of certification and open courses is first, based on the crisis, we have been transforming the name of the titles of our certification, basically. So we have 3 levels. For executive, we have an executive MBA and executive diploma. And for non-executive, we have 3 levels, and we say 4 levels for professional. But what's important, yesterday we had a certification for managers. Today, we say it's leading purchasing transformation, because the manager, when you understand what we showed before concerning the crisis, the purchasing managers has a role for transforming and has a role to see forward. The certification for category manager, CATMAN, or project is much more what we call achieving purchasing excellence. And the third level for what we were calling purchasing professional or buyer professional is buying for performance. It's clear We just buy for performance. And we have a new one, which is discovering purchasing, which is for newcomers or for some stakeholders. So one key element of a crisis we have been transforming to give a title explaining precisely well the role of purchasing people in what they have to do. Another point which is important for us, it's when we look at the Flex certification, is to understand what is inside. So, for instance, it's when we look at the category managers, this is the certification for expert buyers. Okay, what we just saw before. The certification, you understood that we have an assessment, and based on this assessment, we have or not to take some trainings. You remember what I said initially, the certification for expert buyer, the level 2, was 3 weeks over 3 months. Okay, you understood when we have a look at is today is just 1 week face-to-face. Okay, 3 week, 1 week when we work on when we work on Flex. The 3 weeks is 0 weeks when we go on full digital. So basically what we say here is the full digital. You have your assessment. Based on the assessment, we understand the gap to close, and we have a series of courses. So basically, we have a series of courses, which is key category management, supplier relationship management, advanced cost reduction tool, supplier performance management, innovation, soft skills, a soft skill for advanced negotiation, and soft skill for leadership. So this is a complete program for a category manager. Perhaps due to your expertise, you may not have to do everything based on the results of the assessment. But what just I want to enter in is the understanding of each of these cores. So when, and this is the new element of a complete virtual pedagogy. When I take this key category management in a normal mode, in face-to-face, is 3 days. It's 3 days face-to-face. These 3 days face-to-face have been transformed in. When you look at that, the first week, you have 5 modules: stakeholder analysis, segmentation, functional analysis, ABC criticality. You have these 5 modules to learn. You may have some videos and some paper to read. And at the end of the week, you have one virtual class, which is Analyze My Needs. The week after, you have one module plus cases, and you have the module is on Porter, and you have one virtual class. The week after, you have category management, category strategy implementation, and we have one virtual class on strategy formulation. And we say here, not the week after, 2 weeks after, we have 3 modules: strategy definition alignment, purchasing organization to support strategy, and purchasing process steps, and you have one virtual class. So basically here, over 4 weeks, you cover this 3-day face-to-face. Now, what's important is to understand that one e-module, it's around 20 minutes, okay? Then you may have to bring you have to work on to prepare your virtual class. The virtual class is normally 1 hour, 1 hour and a half. During the first part of the class is a kind of a question answer with participants. The trainer is bringing some question answer, is kind of interact with participants to validate if each participant understood correctly. And the second part is much more dedicated to implementation, starting cases, starting discussing in between themselves, and with a moderator, which is a prof. So this virtual class are very precise time, and the participants can prepare with some cases or some exercise. So this is an example when we have here one class which is 4 weeks, over 4 weeks, with 4 virtual classes, and each classes is prepared with some e-learning, and each classes, virtual classes, is also working not only on what I learn and validating of what I learn by myself, but also to work on some cases and some simulation. I hope it's clear for everybody. Do not hesitate to bring question if you have. The most important elements we have the same for advanced cost, supplier performance, innovation. Where innovation we have much more modules, and we have also this virtual class where people are going to work together. What is amazing for us, it's the success we met in soft skills. Before crisis, where we are thinking that the soft skills could not be addressed with a virtual class, and this was the reasons why we developed the flex modes, to say all the theory can be online, but the behavior, communication, and implementation be on a face-to-face. In fact, when the crisis started, one of our big clients we had to start 3 parallel class in Germany, and we had to start these classes. We had these classes on a Monday. On the first day, this client called us, say, okay, a travel ban, and it's we cannot have a face-to-face. So could we implement something for Mondays? And we had to implement. And there are some classes on behavior and negotiation. And basically, it was a success. Why? First, the part of theory in communication, behavior, leadership, change can be learned on our side. So in all these elements, if we go on manager, we have change, we have leadership, to all these elements. There is a part of theory. This part of theory can be learned through e-modules, through readings, through video. So this was clear and easy. What was not so clear for us was the simulation, the body language. And in fact, we found different tools, and the very important point today is that you have a very strong evolution in all the tools. We found a tool permitting us to go through a virtual workshop and splitting a complete class of 10, 12 people in subgroups. And you have 4 people working on our side on the same case, on a buyer case, for instance, and you have 4 people working in another workshop on the seller side. And then after 20 minutes, you can meet together and get the simulation. So this is possible. This is possible online. And it was pretty successful. And the ones who need some feedback on that, I'll be more than pleased to bring you some feedback on those elements. So this just to show you that how these e-learnings are structured and how these virtual classes are structured, and to say when we speak about virtual, it's not just e-modules you go and pick up. It's a complete courses which is organized based on some theory you learn by yourself, and not with a precise tempo, because these modules are on our platform and we open the modules when you need these modules. You have also some precise readings, you have some precise video to read. So all the theory and some ideas of implementation can be learned by yourself, and then face-to-face is ready to validate you learn. It's not because you went on the we know that on the computer that you learn. So the role of the trainer is really to validate if you understood, and then to validate if you understood is also to validate through cases and examples the reality of your understanding. So this is for the one type of trainings. We have exactly if we go a bit further on, for the flex, we have 1 week, and the week is more on very specific elements of implementation, where we're going to bring some element. We're insisting on the elements of behavior communication. So during this week, the ones who are in virtual are doing the same thing with some contact point with the guys who are in the class. So basically, we have a common cohort in between the ones who are in virtual and the one who are face-to-face. The nice thing is you may have around the table people who are from China, from Mexico, from the States, from Europe, from Germany, from France, and so on and so forth, and working together. So basically, I go for a flex program, meaning that I'm going to have 1 week face-to-face, and I work on a virtual program, meaning I don't have this face-to-face, but I'm going to meet the same people because we're going to have some common workshop. So these are some key elements of understanding about the training. I just saw some question here asking me if it's difficult, if we need some specific elements, technical elements or not. No, in fact, I'll be back on this on the element of technologies and technical issues. These are some basics elements which are plugged on our LMS, learning managing system, and we're going through. We are quite in other words today. The only difficulty may be the firewall when we work with companies, and we may have some technical issues with firewalls because not everybody is allowed to. So when it's a company programs, we solve these problems with the ITIS system before starting the programs. When it's on individual laptop, we don't have any issues. And normally what we organize as we do today, 2 virtual class, one by the morning and one by the afternoon, when we have enough students on our class. If not, we organize this class at midday to get people from east and west at the same time. Do not hesitate to bring your question. So for the buying for performance, which is a level for buyer, we have over courses, which is buying inside, buying outside, cost analysis, contract and legal, financial risks, preparing negotiation, conducting negotiation process, and communication for negotiation. And it's exactly the same principle. You see these are the foundation programs. You have here some 2 e-learnings and one face-to-face, one virtual class. The second week we have 1 e-learning and 1 virtual class. Just by the way, when somebody is interested to take an open course maybe I'm interested by buying this one, taking this one only, purchasing inside. So if I take only purchasing inside because I'm interested just by these elements, I'm a newcomer or I'm a stakeholder. I just would like to understand some basic element of purchasing. So I may take this program here and these 4 weeks learning, and I'll be joining the people who are in the certification program. So it's also important to understand that we have cohort and we have some people, auditor, visiting people, or people who are coming for this foundation program together with us. So all these elements, this is again a class on cost, a class on contract, where you have 3 e-modules on contract and 3 e-modules on clauses, and 2 virtual class, 2 class on finance. And when we go on negotiation, and this is the basics on negotiation, you have 3 e-modules for preparing negotiation with 1 virtual class. You have 3 compulsory mandatory modules and 3 optional modules, so 6 modules on conducting the negotiation process. And we have here again 5 modules on communication fundamentals for negotiation. Okay, so you see we have been working a lot to develop the content through e-learnings, but we developed a lot of virtual classes, which are also recorded to help people who can't come to a virtual class to get the same understanding from the court. Another point which is also important for us, you understood, is the library. Today in the EIPM library, so the first point is we have been developing these modules since so we started in 2000, and we are the 5th generation of e-modules today. We started this new generation 1 year and a half ago. We are developing in average 2 to 4 modules per week. Today we have 100, perhaps today we have over 130 e-modules. These e-modules are classified in 11 topics, and these 11 topics are brought in 27 different clusters. So a cluster is a group of e-modules, and you have a cluster which are beginner, intermediate, and advanced. So for a topic such as negotiation, you have some cluster of maybe 3 or 4 modules as beginner. You may have 4 or 5 modules intermediate, and you may have 2 or 3 modules of advanced. So basically, we have the idea is the library is classified in topics. I'll be back on that one, such as contracts, negotiation, cost, and so on and so forth. These topics are divided in clusters. Because you have more questions about topics, because a topic, as I said, you may have some beginners, some advanced, and some intermediate. We also have over 40 different virtual classes we develop with all the materials and the webinar. We develop altogether more than 60 EIPM webinars. We developed, so we have a frequent webinar these days during the crisis. We also had webinars before, but this is in the library of EIPM. 60 webinars we developed, and over 100 videos belonging to EIPM, such as a video from Peter Klajnik, a video from some CPOs who accepted to give us the authorization of using that for some very specific elements of the course. And all these elements can be customized for any company, introducing some process, a specific process, introducing some specific elements. We work a lot these days on compliance, fraud, and so on and so forth. And we know that for compliance, you may have some specific docs, and we can introduce these specific docs in our module, for instance. So this is an overview of the library. Just to give you an idea about the topics we have. So, for instance, leadership. On the topic leadership, we have 4 clusters and grouping 18 modules together. Okay, so we have 18 modules of on leadership, 4 clusters because we have some beginners, some intermediate, some advanced. In negotiation, we have also 4 clusters, 21 modules. Innovation, 5 clusters, 9 modules. Contract 1 and 7 modules. Cost 2 clusters and 7 modules. Finance 1 and 4. Supply chain 1 and 3. So we're going to develop. The objective is to develop based on the results from the CPO roundtable. We're going to develop the supply chain. A lot of these modules going under construction. SRM, we have 3 clusters and 13 modules. We go on developing also some purchasing along the strategy and so on and so forth. 16 modules, purchasing practices and tools. 17 modules. Practices and tools are around, for instance, some elements of RFI, some advanced costing, and so on and so forth. KPIs, 2 clusters and 9. We go and develop because there are a lot of elements to develop on KPIs, not only KPIs on savings, but KPIs on value, and getting out of a crisis is how to measure the role of purchasing, and sustainability, including fraud, ethics, and so on, and compliance. We are 10, and we increasing this number of modules these days. Again, all these modules can be customized for some if you're interested in. Just one point I did not mention. It's what we use for tools. Basically, so answering before, our LMS is Talentsoft. So we're using Talentsoft as a tool. Basically, all our e-modules, our classes are on Talentsoft, and our all e-modules are SCORM. For virtual class, we're using Zoom. We know Click Meeting is used when we have big groups, such this morning. But for class, we use Zoom because we can have also some syndicate rooms. We can have this kind of virtual workshop with Zoom. We also use a new tool called Mural. Mural is dedicated to get this type of animation in between a workshop where the participant can put some post-it on the mural, and people can interchange. So what we're doing normally in a class, you can do it with this tool, working at distance and adding and squeezing some papers on the same mural, on different murals. So here we are really in the system where the agility of the tool help us more and more to go closer from the reality, and I'll be back on this. And we're using also ProQuest, which is a virtual library. ProQuest has 90,000 sources, 6 billion digital pages, and over 450,000 ebooks. So basically, we have a link because we're paying every year a fee, meaning that we are authorized to use some articles without any problems. So when we have articles in our courses, all these articles are coming from ProQuest, meaning they are protected, and we can use these documents with our clients without any difficulty, because a lot of people are using links to different websites without any protection, and these links can be cut, and you may have, as a company, some problems with. So we taking care of that, and we're using the official sources. Another point which is important for us, if you want, as a conclusion, is values for value is our core belief. During this crisis, we understand that we have this phase of recovering, we have this phase of taking advantage, and people are key. And we have to understand that we have to train them to go on, but it's not as easy as it has been. We know that some budgets are going to be frozen, but at the same time, we know that some companies say we have time for implementing training now. But the baseline is understanding that values for value mean that we have to work in our ecosystems, and more and more we have to onboard our suppliers, some key suppliers, not meaning the bigger one, but the one with whom the ones we need. They may be small and they may be close, but we have to also to think in the future of onboarding more suppliers, as we are onboarding also some of our internal stakeholders. If suppliers understand how to reduce some cost by buying better, you take benefits from that. So we think that values, it's about ethic, it's about these elements of compliance, and what's amazing for us is that all the elements can be also brought through distance learning, what we're not thinking some weeks ago. And this bring me some elements on the crisis training and education. We think that the post-crisis training and education will be essentially online, as I said, for travel ban, the sanitarian face-to-face, so meaning that post-crisis will be taken care, and we get this in our head, the COVID, meaning that we'll be taking care. The post-COVID, if we have a post-COVID, not be the same as pre-COVID, meaning that less face-to-face, less visiting suppliers, less meeting together, less face-to-face for training. So this is one important point. So education will not be the same for this reason. The second point is a big evolution on technology. So basically, the speed of internet, the broadband, but also getting more and more toward the virtual reality, meaning that today I'm not with you, but I'm much more with you than some years ago. And tomorrow I will be totally with you with this idea of virtual reality. We know the boom for Zoom these days. It will be the same for, I'm sure, for Cisco with this virtual reality, and a lot of new players are arriving in this. So this is going to make a change also. And the last element is, I think, cultural evolution. This crisis has been showing us that we can have a relation without meeting people, even though we're not used yet. But we all of us have been experiencing the virtual meetings. All of us say, well, it's not so bad, and I think it will be better and better. So these elements, these three elements, push me to think that we will not go back to face-to-face trainings. We enter in a zone of virtual training, but I still think, and we still think, that we may have some face-to-face, some flex, what we call flex, so a part of flex, face-to-face trainings. For rewards, for instance, we have some key players, high potential. We need to reward them. And we still think that a part of face-to-face, when they're going to, these guys or this girl is going to meet some IPO from other company, is always challenging and rewarding. So if we say face-to-face is for a very special occasion, a special moment, such as a reward, yes. We may say also some face-to-face in a company may be important for the intimacy of creating a team. So we still think that we will need some face-to-face learning together once a year, sometimes in a company, because we will need this intimacy. We also think that some exceptional as event with a T event it will also be there. So we say that tomorrow, learning for all type of learnings be online, virtual classes. Some of them may be on flex because some company by culture still need the face-to-face. We saw that we were proposing some virtual training to some companies, say, yeah, no, we're not yet in. We prefer meeting people. And we understand that. Before the crisis, we're sure that we will never go on a distance learning for developing training on negotiation, communication, and behavior. And we are in, and it's working perfectly well. So we have not all the same level of maturity for using this distance learning. So we think first that we go on distance learning with all the digital elements I show you. But we still may have some face-to-face training for more specific elements, special elements. And I think it's important to get clear picture, not resisting to the evolution because it's more cost efficient first. People don't have so much time. There is family life, and we've been realizing these last years that when we go for big diploma, people had been hesitating in I have my family life, I have my workload, and I should go for 1 week in a face-to-face for an MBA session. And we understood that people prefer the agility, or I am going to do it when I want. So this is one very important aspect. All the elements I've been presenting you are on the websites, and you can go and visit the websites where you can find a lot of information. On the website also, we put some different elements for you from companies. We put a COVID corner where we give a lot of information, and we give also a lot of documents which may be very useful these days for you in this crisis time. We also open a shop, a digital shop for where you're going to find all these solutions. And during the crisis for training continuity, we brought a discount on all the products brought by the shop, because we think it's also time for a company to maintain education, digital education, and to help people to learn during this time, because recovery is going to be tough. And we have been preparing all these elements for you on the Botiux. So you can go on the website to look at that. So you do not hesitate to contact us. Just have a look to the different question. Yeah, one question is on how do we manage the cultural differences on the different modules? So today, all our modules are in English for other trainings, but we also have over the 127 modules are not totally up. 50 modules are already translated in Brazilian Portuguese or Portuguese Brazilian from Brazil, in German, in Italian, and in Spanish, and we entering in translating them in Russian and in Chinese. But today, all is in English. Oh yeah, and in French too. Sorry for that. So we go on in the next month. We should have all the modules translated in 9 different languages to get access to the library. Basically, so the module will be translated, and the idea is taking advantage of working with our branches to get some virtual classes in local language too. But today everything is monitored from here in Geneva, and it's in English. Any other point? Yeah, one point is how can we taste and test. In fact, we have these days our a session on a certification, and we have some virtual class going on. So if some of you are interested to participate to a virtual class, you can contact me, or you can contact us, and we'll be giving you an invitation. So if you come to a class, basically the process is following. We will give you the e-modules, access to the e-modules dedicated to this class, for being sure that you be in the same understanding than the participants. And you'll be as auditor in the class, and the class is for 1 hour, 1 hour and a half. So we have a lot of class these days. Standard class. I'm not speaking about classes, virtual class in companies, because we're not inviting auditor for this company class, but we have some standard class. But you have to be invited. So just ask us, and we'll be giving you a login to enter in these different classes. So do not hesitate. Over point. Yes, as I said, this training can be customized, meaning that basically what we do is for a company, we mean, if we want to be cost efficient, the best is to use the standard content. A course on category strategy is category strategy, basically, when you explain Krajik and so on and so forth. So if we have a class with a company and willing to implement category strategy, we take our standard content, but on the platform, we're going to put some readings from the company, a video from the company. If a company doesn't have video, we can produce a video, and so on and so forth. So basically, what we do is we take our standard content, the e-learnings, and based on that, we're going to add some elements from the company, coming from practices, or also coming from framework. We may have already some framework templates to use. So, but now, if a company is willing to customize the content of Krajik, we can, if there is enough people in the company to do it, we can do it also. But we advise the company not necessary to do it, because it's also cost for doing it. How long does it take to prepare a training? So it depends. If we go for a company, we may go first from an assessment. It can be a global, worldwide assessment. This assessment is going to help us to have to design some training roadmap in function of the level of competencies, and we may identify some people who have a need for negotiation, people who have a need for cost, other people who have a need for strategy, and we're going to define these training roadmaps worldwide. So we can define this training roadmap per level of competence. So putting all the people who have a needs in cost together. They may be from Brazil, from Singapore, or from Germany in the same batch. So with virtual class, we can do it, and we will do it in English. Now, if we go on a flex mode, we have to do a part of virtual and a part of face-to-face, and the first part face-to-face will be more Parisian. So if we have people from Brazil, from Germany, and from Singapore in the same training room, we can do getting these three regions together online. Now, if we have to do it face-to-face, we get a face-to-face in Germany, but not only for people working on cost, but we have a training for all the German people, mixing the one for cost, mixing for one for strategy, and so on and so forth. So we have to adapt, and we can adapt. So, and here we understand that the virtual class is much better because we can mix, we can have a cohort, a virtual cohort, a global virtual cohort, and this is crucial for some company. We have concerning the virtual class, we're not working as here, meaning that here you have to go through a chat room to bring questions. In a virtual class, is a microphone and camera, video on during a complete class. For two reasons. First, the trainer has an eye on everybody, and we understand that everybody is working on the doc we're working on. And it's important that we get this interaction. So basically, it's question answer, and you can jump in the discussion, asking a question to a trainer. Normally, we're not using so much in Zoom the hands-on just to bring a question. We prefer for the spontaneities to jump on and to help the communication to go on. So we're insisting a lot on the communication, and we try to make people thinking we're not working through a computer. So we're using a lot of different channels, social network, to make people closer and helping them to know each other not only during this class but to work together with the through different channels. So I think I answered the different question. If you have more question, do not hesitate. Do not hesitate to bring more. Do not hesitate to bring your question. Do not hesitate to interact. Do not hesitate to ask if you need something, and to come and test. Thanks very much for being with us and being with me today, this morning. Take care, be safe. We're not out of the sanitarian crisis, and we're not at all out of the economic crisis. So we know that the forthcoming days be difficult for all of us, but we can win together, or we not win. So take care, cross fingers, and do not hesitate to call me back. Thank you. Thanks very much. Bye-bye. Take care. Thanks.